Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated, where I'm very excited today. I'm joined by actress Julia Ubrankovics. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did. I'm very impressed.
I've been practicing.
Oh, you did. That's very flattering. Thank you so much. Well, you got it right.
Well, you know who I was copying, which I still couldn't get it right, but I was actually copying you. I watched you on a little YouTube thing where you gave your name. So I've been playing that.
Oh.
I'm like, I'm gonna get that right.
It must have been years ago. Well, my name didn't change, but I have not been using YouTube much for my
Yeah,
personal promotion, at least.
yeah. I think I do. I think it was from about 5 years ago. I
Yeah,
hunted
not
it
bad. Sounds really long.
up. Well, Julia, thank you so much for doing this. I'm such a fan of yours. You know, I think you always seem to find very unique, kind of quirky roles, and I love that.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. How did you find me? I want to hear the story.
Well, so I had seen you originally in the Last Kingdom, right?
Oh,
So
my.
I was a fan of the books. So when
Mm-hmm.
the show came out, I was like, well, I got to watch that. Well, I
Mm-hmm.
saw you made your appearance on there, and I thought you were terrific. And
Thank
then when Shadow and Bone came out, there you were again. And I was like, oh, I remember her. I was like, I'm gonna see if I can get her on the show. Well, you normally I would go through your people. I would talk to your agent or your publicist or whoever you have. Uh, but I found you on Facebook. I was like, and you answered, which is
you.
unusual. You're like some guys just sending me a note and wanting to get on Zoom, but you answered. You were very nice, and here we are.
Yes, I mean, it's great for me to have this opportunity to talk to you. I've seen the people you had these conversations with, and I was like,
Yeah.
wow, I'm open. And I think that leading a podcast these days since 2020 is really something that is accessible for people
Yeah.
all around the world. And it's important to me because I'm Hungarian by birth. I've been living in the States for the past 12 years, but still, a majority of my work comes from Europe. So, a little podcast is something that I can share with everyone. So, I
Yeah.
appreciate the opportunity and thank you for having me.
Yeah, that's such a good point because one of the things we're really proud of is that our podcast is seen all throughout the world. We've got people that watch, and we do get a lot of requests for actors that were born outside the U.S. So it's really exciting that I know you've been living here for a little while, but you were
Yeah.
born in Hungary. You spent
Yes.
time, I know, in Germany.
Yes, I did many
Yeah.
years. I wanted to be a German actress. I did not want to learn English, and I never thought in my life, in my wildest dreams, that I would ever speak this language. And 20 years ago when I started, it was just really unimaginable that you can travel the way we used to travel before 2020, and
Right.
also that you can lead a life and a career that I do. Coming from a post-communist country, it was hard to imagine that you're allowed to cross your border to start with.
Right. Right. Well, yeah, that probably is a little bit different. Much more restricted when you were growing up.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. How many languages do you speak?
I speak three languages: German, Hungarian, and English.
Well, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. Give me say something in Hungarian. I'll see if I know what
How
it
would
is.
you like to say?
Say let's see. How about um you are watching Too Opinionated.
um, Ti most I don't know how to translate too opinionated. Like, there's like
No one
opinion
does.
like that. Like, Too opinionated is like when you have like a very strong opinion about something. It sounds like a
Yeah.
judgment. So if I were to translate that into Hungarian, it's like you're watching a show that's called very judgmental. But I don't think that's really the theme of your
Oh
show.
yeah,
So
that's it. We are very judgmental here. Well, let me hear it. What's it sound like in Hungarian when you say it that way?
judgmental is nagyon bíráló. Bíráló véleményét túl erősen közlő. Something along those lines.
Yeah, that's us. That's definitely us. Well, can you say it in German? Can you say
Ever need
what? How's it sound in German?
in German too opinionated? Du hast wahrscheinlich eine ganz starke Meinung, ganz starke Meinung oder ganz, weiß nicht. Think about it. It's very hard to translate something that is not word
Yeah,
for word.
that's right.
It's not
That's right.
you're not table to um, the same Ostal in Hungarian. You are translating an idea which is like too opinionated, which is
right.
tied
Being
to what opinion
overly
means in
opinionated,
German
yeah,
or
or overly
Hungarian
judgmental.
with expression. So translating an expression takes always a lot more than just
Right.
translating objects or descriptions of anything.
All right, let's try. Okay, let's try this one. I'll give you something easier. How about what's the one they always like if you're listening to, you're trying to learn another language? What's the one they always say is, I would like a glass of water.
Oh, okay. Szeretnék egy pohár vizet. That's in Hungarian.
Yeah.
And in German, it would be like, ich möchte ein Glas of Wasser.
Well, of course, I knew that, but I wanted everybody else to know that.
Very, very important to know how to ask for a glass of water, especially
Yeah.
during the summer. So if you're
Oh, I
stranded
think.
somewhere in Hungary or Germany.
My brother has been in Germany for the last 3 years. He's getting ready to. He's vacationing in Greece, and then he's moving back to the U.S. after that. So he's been in Wiesbaden.
In Wiesbaden, vacationing for 3 years. That's a fancy
Yeah.
life.
Well, no, he's working in Germany. He's vacationing in Greece, and then he's heading home after the vacation. But yeah, we're excited to get him back in the U.S.
I'm sure they're not that excited. It's hard to leave Greece or
Oh my
Germany for
gosh.
that. But I have a soft spot in my heart for Greece. I think it's such a magnificent country with such a beautiful history and the
Yeah.
islands and all of it. It's very romantic. And it's
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they keep sending him and his wife keep sending pictures of the black sands and the red rocks, and I'm just like, just stop. Just stop. But now you also spent time in Hawaii.
I did. I used to live in Hawaii for 2 years in 2012 and
Yeah.
2013. I was fortunate enough to join a little theater group in Hawaii. Fabulous people, really beautiful actors and colleagues of mine. And we've been working on Hedda Gabler by Ibsen during
Oh.
my time in Hawaii. And I played Hedda, which was a fantastic experience. Just, anything Ibsen is a pleasure for an actor to play with.
Yeah, a lot of the actors that we talk with, Ibsen is the playwright that they really love. They're always saying, "Yeah, I'd love to act in an Ibsen play," or if they're writing, they're trying to adapt, maybe a play of Ibsen. So that doesn't surprise me that you're
Yes,
working on that.
he was the master of theater,
Yeah,
and everything that he wrote has such a depth in character and story, and it's so contemporary. It's about human relationships and feelings and the complexity of our feelings and emotions and situations, and that's beautiful to share and talk about.
Yeah.
because we are all struggling with love, with loss, with
Yeah.
tragedy, with society, with the expectations of what the society. So it's not something that we can just drop and move on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for sure. For sure. So, so I know you've done a lot of theater, but let me back up a little bit. Um, what made you want to get into the entertainment business? Why did you become, an actress?
That's such a great question, and I'm questioning myself every day. Do we really have a choice when we decide to do something? Where is that choice? I'm serious. Where is that choice? Where is that idea coming from?
Right.
Because I cannot really pinpoint that in my life. Did I ever wanted to come to the States? Not really. Life just
Just took you here.
morphed. It's just appeared. I
Yeah.
did a major movie in 2008 in Hungary. That was a big success, and I got a national award for it. And I was very
Ah,
celebrated and successful. But the economy crashed, and
right.
suddenly 2009, 2010, no movies were produced, and I was out of a job. Being
Right.
famous doesn't pay the bill.
That's right.
Quite the contrary. People expect you to have money and fame and all of that,
Yeah.
and I was really, really struggling despite of all. And I was looking to grow and progress and become a better actor, but also do something exciting that would open new doors in my life. So
Right.
I couldn't find any German speaking scholarship. So I found an American one. And I applied and I got it, and I moved to New York, and I didn't speak much English, if at all. And it was a complete shock, a culture shock, shock to my ego and the idea of what I thought about, because not only was I not famous, but I couldn't even practice my gift of acting because I didn't speak the language.
Right.
Plus, everyone in New York was an actor, which was like coming from Europe. It's really strange. Um, you go into a restaurant and suddenly the waiter tells you that he or she is an actor, and you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, like, what are you doing in the restaurant then? Because over there, acting is just regarded very, very differently.
Yeah.
You are part of a company, you're part of a repertory
Right.
theater, you are working, and it's just a different structure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because here the majority of people in the entertainment business, that's not their only job. They have to
Right.
have another job to kind of pay the bills while they're, trying to make it as an actor.
But over there, you have to have at least 4 or 5 years of training
Right.
and a degree in acting or in filmmaking before you can call yourself an actor. So it's not that just like, oh, okay, I was part of a theater show during my high school years and now an actress. Like, no, that wouldn't fly. People
That
would be
wouldn't
like,
work.
excuse me. No, yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
so when you went to high school there, did you do theater or were you in a band or
Yeah,
anything like that? Yeah.
yes, I did. I always enjoyed literature, poetry, and spoken word, and anything that was meaningful and beautiful and exciting. And I had a teacher who pushed me to join a summer camp for
Yeah.
actors. And I thought, no, no, I mean, I'm not going to jump around like all those crazy people, and please. And he said, well, if you don't join them, then you cannot partake in my class next year. And I was like, all right, let me see what those idiots are doing. And I I became one of those idiots, like,
Of
seriously, for
course.
life.
What were you, so did you do anything besides theater? I mean, were you singing? Did you do art? Did you play an instrument, anything like that?
I used to paint. I used to
Yeah.
paint. My mom is a painter and artist, and
Oh,
I picked up the pencil, and I used to do really beautiful drawings. But then my focus just shifted to acting full time. So that's what I've been doing for the past 20 years, I guess.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. So if you go back to Hungary, are you still just like this monster star?
Well, monster star, no,
You
definitely
go
not.
back to Hungary and they're like, boy, she was great when she was here. I'm glad she's back.
Oh, that would be so sweet. No, certainly I have, people who would recognize me and all that.
Yeah,
Uh, but we don't have this crazy star
it's not the
celebrity
same, is it?
culture like
Yeah,
in the US. Not at all. I mean, yes, you're on TV, yes, you're in theater, people will recognize you, but they're like, oh, I've seen the movie that you were in, and that's it. And they don't possibly,
good job.
you know.
what what was the role that you were known for there?
I did a movie in 2008, as I mentioned, that was a
Yeah,
big break for me called Virtually a Virgin by a very famous Hungarian director.
yeah,
Um, and then in 2017, I did a series for one of the networks where I was the female lead. It's called The Teacher. So I
yeah.
was the lead for the first season, which gave me massive exposure. And I'm very grateful for that experience. And I've been always part of the art scene, more or less. In 2015, when I moved to LA from Hawaii, I started a theater company here, theater production
Yeah.
company with a colleague of mine. So we started producing international theater and based out of Los Angeles. So we would have our premiere in Los Angeles or the last one in New York. And
Yeah.
then we would tour, which was beautiful, something very exciting that
That's
I'm very.
amazing. What made you want to go into like you're kind of going into business for yourself? What made you want to start your own company?
Well, I think it was just some lack of quality theater, a lack of international, experimental, European
Yeah.
kind of theater here in LA, and I was really missing it. I was missing the kind of community and artistic collaboration that happens when theater makers come together. Theater
Yes.
making is so powerful because that's one of the only few arts that happens only in the moment.
Right.
I mean, even music you can preserve and you can play anything from the 18th century today if you have the notes. Theater doesn't function like that. It happens in that moment in front of that audience only once. And that is the live theater experience that
Right.
moves and transforms people. So when costume designers and scenic designers and lighting designers and directors and writers all and actors come together and create something together, it is
Right.
really powerful. Plus I love the adrenaline. I mean, the adrenaline, it's just very like addictive. Like you are on that stage when the
Yeah.
curtain opens, then show must go on. There's whatever happens, it happens. There's like once it starts, it's on.
Yeah, I love the way you describe that because that's I've never thought of it that way, but you're right. Each show in theater, that's it. It's just that moment. It's not really preserved, so once it's gone, it's gone. And that's
Yes,
that's
yeah.
that's a really
The
cool way to look at that.
yeah, the ancient Greeks um treated theater as a sacred form of transformation. It happens between the audience and the performance and the gods, and the messages and the stories were there to transform people and their lives and their look on the world, because you find a moment where you can relate to the person and to their stories on stage, and you recognize yourself in the actors,
Yeah.
and hopefully that creates a shift in your life, or you change your perspective. It's very transformational, it's very powerful.
Yeah, yeah, I love that, and you're right. There's something about the energy from the audience being right there when you're performing.
It's the dialogue.
Yeah, where
Theater doesn't happen without the audience. The audience is just as important as the performers on stage.
That's right. That's right. So where do you find the place that you want to do that you want to work with?
Oh, it really depends on the process.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, most the time, the director brings in a specific piece that
Right.
she or he wants to work on, and can see the cast, um, or the theme, or something deeper that he or she wants to talk about.
Right.
Um, or I just go and see a show in town or out of town and find the piece intriguing, and then I look it up. Oh, okay, what else did this writer create?
Yeah.
And usually is a rabbit hole, and I find amazing, amazing work.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you do plays both in New York and in LA.
Our last show that we did before the pandemic was in 2019, and it opened in New York at the Irondale Theater.
Yeah.
And of course, 2020 just shut us down. And
Yeah.
I spent 2020 traveling around the continental United States. And I shot a documentary because I realized that I cannot go back to Europe, even though that I wanted to.
Right.
Um, and I was very moved by all the political upheaval that was happening, the riots, the
Yeah.
protests, everything that was happening in the country. And quite honestly and frankly, I was also very confused. I think that's the best word to describe it.
Okay.
I'm not from here. I moved in this country when I was in my 20s. I had some knowledge of the history, but not deep enough. Yet I'm coming from a
Yeah.
country that has a really massive, very dark history.
Right.
So I could relate and understand a lot of things. But since I lived in New York, I lived in Hawaii, and now in Los Angeles, I didn't know what's happening in between.
Yeah.
And in 2020, I was like, okay, I understand. There's so much happening. Let me see this country for myself, and let me find a way to relate and to find belonging. So I started traveling, and I was really like a
Yeah.
modern day pilgrim, like whoever would take me in whatever capacity. Sometimes I was just pitching a tent in someone's backyard. Sometimes, they were allowing me in or giving me their guest house, whatever they were comfortable with. I just said yes. Yes, tell me, why do you live in Tennessee? Tell me, why do you live in Alabama or whatever? I went through 22 states, and it
How
was
did we
fascinating.
miss you in West Virginia? We totally
I did.
would put you up here.
Oh, I wish. I wish. I wish. I wish. I did not go through West Virginia,
Yeah, I
unfortunately.
love. Yeah, Tennessee's only about 5 hours away. I love that you did that. What a great way to spend such a difficult year.
Yes, yes,
You know,
yes.
and I like the European perspective. You know, we've had a few guests on from Europe, and it's similar. You know, with the political side of it, they're intrigued but a little confused by the year that we have recently had, and I get that. That has to look strange from the outside.
It does look strange, and also, um, when you come from a different country, then you
Yeah,
have also access to different media channels, and then you get sometimes very confusing information from all over the place. So you're trying to find out what is really happening.
that's right.
Now, if you add to that fact that you're coming from a country like Hungary, which spent 50 years in communism, where something was told but half of it wasn't true, or you were not allowed to
Right.
talk about certain things, and you were ruled by another country, then you are questioning a lot of things, not just because questioning certain things is the right thing to do, because
Right.
we have a brain and it's nice to use our own
Sure.
brain, but also because um, we are conditioned to question everything, because it was propaganda. It was just telling you something, but the reality was very, very different.
Yeah, yeah. That's I love the history of stuff, and of course Hungary, was through the first two world wars. They had quite the history. You know, there was some pretty good
Absolutely.
involvement there.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to at some point visit Austria? I know you've been to Germany.
Oh, of course. I mean, I was born on the Austrian-Hungarian border. I was
Oh,
literally born
there
right
you go.
next to the Iron Curtain, which
Wow.
was very important for me as a young child because I could literally look out the window just like I do here. I look out my window, I can see the Hollywood sign and the Griffith Observatory.
Ah,
Now, when I was 3 years old, I could look out my window, I could see the hills, and I knew that we cannot go there because that's Austria.
yeah.
Mind you, today that's like 12 minutes by car. But when I was 3 years old, it was still communism very much and
Yeah.
not allowed to cross. It was a
So
really
weird.
strange, yes, concept for a child to understand that something that you can walk to almost, you cannot go because there is a border and that's another country and they can come, but you cannot. And I was like, okay, that makes no sense.
Yeah, that really does. That how confusing from a child's perspective. That's yeah,
Yes.
that's weird.
Yes, and I remember waiting at that border 4 or 5 hours in the car with my dad and my mom,
Yeah.
silent and so tense because oh my gosh, we were inspected by the Austrians and by the Hungarians, and you have to cross the two borders, and they would take you apart and the car apart
Oh
and
my
everything, and it was
gosh.
a whole deal. Today, you don't even have to stop. It's it's
Yeah, that I mean
major.
that's something that we would watch in a movie, you know, and you had to actually go through it.
Oh yes. Oh, big, big time. So I used to live in Germany. I studied in Hamburg. I was part
Yeah.
of the ensemble for 6 months in Graz. That's Austrian city.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was very fortunate because in the early 90s, my father started his business and I traveled all of Western Europe with him. So I had this
Okay.
early exposure to the West and made me realize that no, the world is big. It's very colorful, it's very different, and there are so many different cultures and languages, and
Yeah.
people think in completely different ways, even next to you. And they have no idea who you are. They might have some preconceived, bias that, oh, you must be from Eastern Europe, then you must be whatever, you must be a thief, you must be a whatever of a lower
Right.
class, because Eastern Europeans were treated like that, I would show up in Germany and they thought I'm a um, dishwasher or a babysitter, even like 10 years ago, or I'm a prostitute. I mean, this is the stark reality
Yeah.
because these were the labels that were put on people from my region, and it
That's
was really
terrible.
hard. It is terrible, but I cannot get angry at individuals. We have to change and shift, and I think that by now it probably changed a bit, but it's history.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
history, and we have to work on changing that. But yes, I remember in the early 90s, I would cross to Austria and they had signs saying Hungarians do not steal in Hungarian on the Austrian side. And I would cry and ask my mother, like, why do they think that we steal? Like,
Yeah, that's
what?
terrible.
Yeah, it's yes, very questionable.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. So if I went to Hungary, what's the best thing to see in Hungary? What should I go to?
Oh
What
my
city?
God.
What's the attraction?
Probably these days I'm more equipped to talk about LA because I spend so much more time in Los Angeles than in Hungary. Honestly, I was back last year in October. I finished a movie with a fantastic director. His name is George Palfi. He has many famous award-winning movies, including
Yeah.
Taxidermia and Home and all that. And so we finished a movie that we started 5 years ago. I'm very grateful that we did. It's coming out this year, and I'm
What's the
excited
name
about
of it?
that. Forever. And
Forever.
yes, and I'm playing a wonderful part of mentally challenged woman in this utopian story. Anyway, I don't want to give too much away, but
That just means you have to come back when it comes out. That's all.
I would love to, absolutely. Um, but really, the struggle is when you change countries
Yeah,
that you have an idea of what it used to be
sure.
when you lived there. So for me, that would be like, oh, Hungary 10 years ago. It's when I really lived there. Ever since I'm just visiting, going back for a couple of months. Mind you, I would definitely be able to like give you a list of the best restaurants, the best Turkish houses that you need to go,
Oh, yeah.
uh, the lakes, the castle, the museums. I mean, there's just so much life
Yeah, there's
happening.
so much.
Yes. And so many movies, American productions and series move now
Yeah.
these days to Hungary because we have 5 studios and fantastic people who work in the film business. So it's very good for an American or international production
Yes.
to move to Hungary and to do the filming, principal photography over there.
Well, yeah, and it's beautiful. You've got it's so pretty in that area, so you definitely have plenty of scenic views for your movie. So
Oh,
I'm
you
not
can see
surprised.
anything. It's really pretty. It's a very similar climate to New York. We have 4 seasons over there and really hot summers and quite the snowy winters.
Yeah,
So,
that's probably similar to West Virginia. That's kind of
yeah,
how easy. Well, is it humid though? Because our summers are very humid.
it's hot
No,
and dry, but not
hot and dry.
humid.
We're I guess hot and wet. It's kind of miserable.
I feel now so ashamed that I've never been to West Virginia. I gonna definitely put it on my bucket list and
Oh, you got to
someday.
come out. Yeah, yeah. You've got a place to stay. Just come on.
Oh,
Just
thank
come on.
you.
And come in the fall because when the leaves
Okay.
are changing colors, beautiful.
It
Beautiful.
must be. Yes,
Yeah,
it's my
it's
favorite.
so pretty. So are you like is your the food that you like is it based on Hungary? Did you like cuz you live there? Is it German? Or have you fallen into this American trap with our food here?
No, however, I have to tell you that um, restaurants and access to organic, beautiful food in Los
Yeah.
Angeles is really uncomparable with anything. Like coming
Yeah.
back to Los Angeles and to California every time I travel is such a pleasure to go into Whole Foods or to any
Yeah.
health store and you can find everything fresh produce. I eat very healthy, and that's
Yeah.
just not because I'm crazy, just because it's good for my body. And actually, traveling through the country, I was most devastated about the lack of access to
Yeah.
organic, clean food in this country, in the
Yeah,
number
it's
one country of
upsetting.
the world. And there are food deserts, and there are places where you have no access to fresh produce and fresh vegetables for
Yeah.
miles and hours. I mean, it's just that was quite
Yeah, I
shocking.
know. It's upsetting. So I've got celiac disease, which is kind of a fancy way of saying I can't eat gluten is the big thing. So
Yes.
I can't have any gluten. Well, that's part of the reason I love going out to LA because it's so different. We're very limited on what our choices here in West Virginia. Although if you go to the grocery store, you can find organic food,
Yeah,
but
you
eating out
can go to
very difficult.
restaurants and tell them that you're a celiac, and they will respect you for that. And the
I
chef
know.
will out and ask you like, what is your level of
Yeah.
disease, and how can
Yeah,
I
your
accommodate?
tolerance.
And yes, tolerance, and then they will.
I know. New York's pretty good too. But you're
Yes,
right. You go to. I never worry when I eat in one of those cities. Where here it's pretty hit and miss. A lot of times they're even now they're not aware. What
yeah,
and not just a weed allergy, whatever allergy. There's so many food allergies out there now. Where if you're in a
yeah,
bigger city, they're very accommodating. Smaller cities across the U.S., it just hasn't got to that level yet.
right, right. And then food allergies happen because they put so many
That's right.
unnecessary things in our
That's exactly
food. Like
right.
we don't need chemicals. We don't need hormones. We don't need all of that shelf life preservatives, you know. Doesn't have to stay on the shelf for
See,
like 2 years
I got to
because
figure it
you
out
don't need it like there for 2 years.
now. See, this is your next film project. It's
I
you and
just
me.
finished a movie.
Well, yeah, this is your next one. You and me, we're gonna fight the food industry. I don't know.
Oh
We'll
no.
we'll have to we'll have to come up with some type of costumes. We'll be like superheroes, but we're only battling bad food.
I like that.
I think
That's a
it's a
great
hit.
concept. I
Yeah, I
think
think
it's
it's
a
going to
hit.
be a hit.
I would watch it. I would watch it. Superheroes fighting the big corporations that are
That's right.
putting poison into kids' mouths. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
totally
I,
sign.
I think that's it. I'll be the sidekick. You can be the main hero. I'll be the
Okay,
sidekick.
take it. No, yeah. I just finished the movie Temecula, which was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was a murder mystery with Vivica Fox in the lead, and she was fantastic to work with. And I had a
Oh,
fantastic cast, and that's gonna come out hopefully by the end of summer, early fall as well.
oh, that'd be terrific. Yeah, Vivica Fox is so talented that.
Oh my God,
That so
she's.
what was your role in that movie?
Oh, I was playing a naughty pastor, and I cannot give anything else away. But it was a
Yeah,
fun character to play. She's very naughty, and she's a pastor,
yeah,
and I like to play fun, controversial.
yeah.
Um, yes,
I told you,
yes,
you
yes.
always seem to have just very interesting, quirky type of roles. Is this one is it a comedy?
It's a murder mystery. It's a
Okay.
whodunit,
Oh,
knives
oh.
out kind of story.
Are you the
Some
killer?
murder. I cannot give away anything.
I was this close to getting you to admit it. Don't worry, she didn't give it
A
away.
long time.
So, which by the way, the play in New York is that the one the dog the knife?
That's the Night of the Knife. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
A German playwright, Marius von Mayenborg, and it was directed by Yuri Kordonsky, a very famous Ukrainian Russian director who is the head of
yeah,
the directing department or the acting department at Yale University. He was fantastic to work with.
yeah,
And the play is eerie because it's about a character named M. M stands just like the syllable M.
yeah.
Who wakes up one day in an alternate reality, and she cannot or he cannot find her way back home. And as she's going through this nightmare, she meets characters who want to have a piece of her, a literal
Yeah.
piece, because there's no food, it's desert, everyone is
Oh my.
hiding,
Yeah.
and people kill each other because they are hungry. It's
Yeah.
very poetic, it's very out there, and every time someone dies, is this beautiful poetry that comes out as their soul leaves.
Oh.
But we did the show before 2020, and suddenly 2020 hit, and it was like an alternate reality. It was
Yeah.
something like suddenly our worlds just shifted and changed so fast
Right.
that literally we had no time to wake up. It's like, okay, I cannot leave my house. Okay, I cannot hug people. I cannot see my parents whenever I want. I have to think about curfew and social
Right.
distancing and putting a mask, and we started to use less Botox just so we can wrinkle and smile at each other because you wouldn't see anything. Yeah, it's true. It's like, I'm smiling. Can you see? I'm smiling. You know, I wild. Just
I
wanted to say
loved
that.
I loved your character on Hawaii Five O.
Oh, that was fun. I missed Hawaii.
Clara,
Very, very
right?
much.
Clara,
Yeah.
I think was her name.
Yes. Her name was What was her name? You see, I don't remember. It's on IMDb. I don't remember the
I
name of the
think it was
character, but she
Clara.
was an agent, a Polish or Czech agent, and she was a fun character, a fun little character to play.
Yeah, yeah, I really enjoyed you on there. We a good friend of ours got to guest star. Um, I guess year before last, before the
Oh,
pandemic
nice.
hit, he was the red herring, so he was the one they thought did it, but it wasn't him. So,
Yep.
but yeah, so we enjoyed you in that. We loved you. My wife and I loved you in Red Sparrow. Thought you were really good in that movie. How did that role come about?
It was such an interesting experience. I was in Hungary, and I was auditioning for all sorts of projects, and suddenly this role came about, and I spent a day with Jennifer Lawrence and Francis Lawrence.
Yeah.
Um, oops, I lost
It was that
it.
Jennifer Lawrence calling right now?
Yeah, she called me for lunch, but I turned her down. I was like, I'm too busy. I'm sorry. No, but it was fantastic to work with that. And now I can give away that we're shooting our little scene um, in a hospital in
Yeah.
Hungary that used to be a hospital like 10 years ago, but now they're just using it for filming. And as I walked in, I recognized that, oh my gosh, I was here about like 5, 6 years ago in this very same room for one
No
of the movies.
way.
Yes, this very to God. I was like, okay, now I'm shooting here. It was so trippy. But
Hey,
she was
oh,
very
that's crazy.
and and the director was amazing, and we
Yeah.
had a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were really good. And that's why I was going to ask you if it was shot over there because
You
we're
must
talking.
have seen the DVD version because I was very disappointed that they edited that whole storyline out from the movie version. So not too many people have seen my part in it because it became like a really long story.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So we saw both. So we, and the second time was kind of a surprise because it had more in it. We were watching, we're like, hey, we haven't seen this before.
That happens to a lot of movies, especially
Yeah.
when different releases and different cuts
Yeah.
and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And that has to be upsetting when a scene gets cut down because it's not like they're picking up the phone and saying, they're not giving you a warning. So you probably don't know
No,
till you watch it.
yes, it's
Yeah, that's
usually how it
terrible.
is. And then you hope that you make the cut.
Yeah. Because I would screw that up every time because I would be the one that would have everybody I know watching for a scene that ends up getting cut. I would every time that would be me.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully, the more you work in this industry, the bigger parts, the more important parts you'll get,
Yeah.
and you work with better people, with bigger artists, and that
Well,
gives
you get
you a
as you
chance.
get known, you tend to your stuff tends
Yeah. So
to
as you
be
get
to be
known or
heard.
you get to work on bigger projects, the likelihood that your scene gets cut is diminished or is
That's right, it's
slowly diminished.
diminished.
I hope so,
So
like
I got to ask you about this one because I know you did a show called X Company, and
oh yes,
yeah,
X-Cam. Yeah.
yeah. So I think now I may be wrong about this. I saw a clip where it looks like your character's getting shot. Is
Yes,
that
she got.
from? Did she die?
Yes, she died, and I did my own stunt, and it was very funny because actually, when
You did.
shooting that scene, I almost got shot. It was the scariest experience
How did that
ever.
happen?
I don't know, and they don't know, and that's the problem. We've been rehearsing over and over and over, and it was very difficult to get that shot
Yeah.
because I was running in, and the big truck was leaving, and as
Right.
they were leaving, they had to shoot me from the truck, and I had to like get shot and fall.
Yeah.
And we rehearsed a couple of times. It was all good. And when we were like actually rolling, when the guy fired, there was something in the barrel and it blew up and made a very different sound and
Oh,
fired. Uh, and of course, I didn't know if I just didn't know if I actually got shot or not. So I was doing
yeah.
my part. I acted and I collapsed. But for a moment, I didn't know if it's going to sound so weird, but for a split second, I wasn't sure if I was dead or not because actually
That's
the
crazy.
pistol went off
Yeah.
and I collapsed and I was like, was I shot or not? And in that moment, because of adrenaline, I couldn't tell. I did not feel my body. I remember just standing
Oh
up,
my gosh.
everyone was in shock, and I was just, touching my stomach and my body, like, okay, I'm alive. And everyone was like,
That's
"Are you
scary.
okay? Are you okay?" I was not able to talk, and my eyes, I was just tears were pouring out
Oh,
of my eyes because my body was in shock. But
yeah.
I couldn't do nothing. It was like, yes, I think I'm fine.
Well, that
And
actually kind of makes sense because it looks real. Like it's like I haven't watched the show. I just saw a clip and just the clip was upsetting because it looks like you get shot.
yes, my mom is so upset because every time I'm like sleeping with someone in the movie, or I'm getting shot, or I'm losing a baby, or whatever, and my mom is always very upset. It's like, I don't like how they treat you. I don't like it.
Well, it's her baby up there. She doesn't want that stuff happening.
Mom, it's not real.
So okay, so I know we need to wrap up, but we got to talk a little bit about Shadow and Bone because
Absolutely.
you it
That was
was
such a
it was I mean you were it was a smaller role, but it was really an important role. So you were one of the was it heart renderers? Heart.
heart render. I mean,
Yeah.
this whole universe that has been created by Lee Bardugo, the writer, is
Yeah.
so mesmerizing and so addictive because it really enters, like, you enter this para universe of these characters and their
Yeah.
special talents, and it's not based on the general Anglo-German fairy tale story, so it's not dragons and
Right.
not Game of Thrones like. It's more East Europe, it's more Russian, it's more
Yeah.
like people with special talents, but they are
Yeah.
still being used as slaves, and there are different powers moving around, and it's cold and it's dark, and the whole setup was in this series, Shadow and Bone, and the Crooked Kingdom and Six of Crows, just to name a few of the series,
Yeah.
is a different universe and such a beautiful fantasy world that she created. Harry Potter is one kind, and this is another
Yeah.
kind, but it's the same genre. So it was a pleasure working on Shadow and Bone, and the British actors who were playing the main characters, they were fantastic to
Yeah.
work with. The level of talent um, in front and behind the camera was, you know, par excellence. It was just magnificent to
Yeah.
work with. The director was amazing and so kind and really took care of us. And yes, I'm very grateful for
Well, you
him.
were terrific in it. You were like immediately one of our favorite characters. Like we just kept
Um,
waiting for you to come back. Like
I
bring
hope they bring me back. That's my
they
honest
have to
opinion.
bring you back for season 2. They have
Heart
to.
renders is very important in
Yeah.
this series, because heart renders can slow down heart rate and can heat up a body or slow the body down.
Yeah.
But as the story progresses, heart renders develop other kinds of talents, so they become a very precious commodity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
hope they bring me back. I would love to, but if not, it was still
Yeah.
such a an
Who,
honor and a
who do
pleasure
I
to
need to
work.
call? Because we need you back.
Let's make a few phone calls. I'll let you.
No, it's so good. Did you go back and read any of the books?
Yes, I did. I read all
Yeah.
the books. I
Yeah, yeah,
did.
yeah.
It
Such a
was.
good series. And I thought they adapted it really well. I thought they did a good job with it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you, like I said, we loved your character. So well done. And the costumes were so great. It was
Oh,
it was almost steampunky.
yes, isn't it fun? And it's so fresh and so
Yeah.
kind of, it's just like it's not the old kind of stuff. I had to go through 3 fittings, and every piece that I wore was custom made for me by 4 different kind of seamstresses in Hungary, because they were shooting the whole series in Hungary last year
Yeah.
or 2 years ago. And it was just fantastic to see the talent and craftsmanship that was put into that work.
Yeah. That's amazing. Did they let you keep the outfits?
No.
Come on.
I mean, we had a fantastic costume designer, and she brought me this beautiful corset made out of fish bone that was used in the 18th
Wow.
century. Probably that little piece was worth more than my entire salary for them. No keeping anything.
Well, when you shoot over there, do you get to go visit relatives? Do you get to see people
Of
that you know?
course, of
Yeah.
course. Hungary is a very small country, only 8 million people. From A to B, if you travel across the country, it takes you 5 hours, really, from the
Oh,
two
wow.
furthest points. So it's really not. It's not a giant country. It's a
Yeah.
very unique language and a very unique culture, but the country itself is tiny. And
Well,
I have 2 brothers. I love them very much, so I always visit them, and of course my parents, and my friends and
yeah.
my colleagues. And if I'm able to get a job on any Hungarian movies while I'm in town or I'm in the country, then it's always nice to do, a little work and then a little leisure
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Julia, thank you so much for doing this.
So much for
It's
having
been
me.
such a pleasure.
Conversation. I very much enjoyed. Thank you so much. And
Well,
if
you're
you want to
so
have me,
welcome.
I'm happy to come back. Thank you.
Oh, you have to. You got to come back.
Yeah.
We got to talk about these movies when they come out,
Yes, 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 yes. And about my
especially
documentary.
once we find out if you're the killer or not in the one.
It's going to come out in the fall. 2 movies are coming out in the fall, so we'll be
That's
back for that.
exciting. Yeah, you have to. Yeah, you have to. So before I let you go, we talked about the two movies that are coming out this fall. Is there anything else that you've been doing that we can kind of keep an eye out for?
Yes, so one of the movie is A Killer Toast by Jihan Murad. She's the director,
Yeah.
and it's going to come out in the fall, and Vivica Fox is in the lead. And the other movie is by Jörg Palfi. It's called Forever, and
Yeah.
that is coming out in the fall as well. And if you want to stay in touch and see more of my work, you can absolutely follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active, at
Yeah.
Julia Ubrankovics. And I appreciate you not butchering my name, because I know
I had to have been at
as
least close. You sound better when you say it, but I was close.
you're perfect on it. So that's the best way to stay in touch with me.
Yeah.
Other than that, I survived the pandemic, and I'm very grateful. And now
Yeah.
there's just a lot of auditions coming in, and I hope for more work.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Did you get vaccinated or did you choose not to?
Here it's like a wait list, and I'm still like in the mix.
It's still in the
Um,
mix. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's a little different. Like in West Virginia, it was pretty fast. It got rolled out pretty quick, but we're a very small state, so it's a little bit quicker. Where you are, yeah, I'm sure you're still waiting
Yeah,
to get through
there's a
everybody.
lot of waiting. There's a lot of unknowns. So when my doctor says yes, you're good to go, I'm
Then
gonna
you're
be ready.
ready. Well, that's great. Oh, one last question before I let you go. Is there a genre that you haven't done that you would like to do?
Oh yes, that's a great question. I picked up boxing during the pandemic,
No
And
way.
I enjoy it so much. I love action movies, and I want to do action movies. The more, the merrier. Anything that involves of me fighting or riding a horse or shooting any guns or anything that is action, I'm such a big fan because of the thrill, because of the fun part of it.
Yeah.
That is something I always wanted to do, and I hope there's something like that
Yeah,
coming.
you would be really good in action movies. And I saw on Facebook I saw you checking the horses out. I don't remember if you rode them or not, but you were with the horses.
Yes, 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 yes,
Yeah.
yes. And my
Yeah.
boxing is getting better and better by the day.
Is it regular boxing or is it kickboxing?
It's sort of a mixed batch of goodies. I'm doing boxing, but boxing and martial arts specifically for the camera,
Yeah.
because I don't know how much boxing you do, but if you do what a professional would do, that
Yeah.
wouldn't look good on camera. You would not see the
That's right.
eyes. You
You'd be
wouldn't see.
covered up.
So yes, because of course you don't want to get a hit in your nose, in your face, and any of that. But when you're on camera, you cannot do that. So there are certain tricks that we use in order to make it look good, make it look fast, but also to make it appropriate for the camera. So I'm training with a fantastic trainer specifically for the camera.
Oh, we got to get you in an action movie for sure.
Okay,
All
for sure.
right,
Yeah.
Julia, hold on 1 second. I'm gonna hit pause. So that was the wonderful, talented Julia Ubrankovics. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that one, and she has such a good energy, and she's so talented as an actress. And I don't think we've really gotten to see her other than in the smaller roles. But even in those roles, you can tell one of these days we're going to see her in much bigger things. She's just really talented. It's fun to watch. Shadow and Bone, uh, she had a small role, but kind of stole the episode. It was in the first episode, kind of stole the episode, in my opinion. I thought it was really good. So I really enjoyed talking with her. She was so nice. Can't wait to follow her career. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope we're continuing to bring interesting, different people to you week after week. I think we're up to 260 some episodes. You can find all of those on our website, meistercon.com. You can find the just the video side on YouTube under MeisterCon Pod. Love for you to go there and subscribe if you're so inclined. That would really help us out. Thank you guys so much. And until next time, bye, everybody.